Hey, all right, so good news. I've got the set flower search filtering feature pretty much completed, and it's gonna be pretty great. Here, let me show you what I've got, and then I'll show you also the game's integration. Basically, what everybody's been asking for forever, be able to plant just the flowers that are actually plantable. So here we are on the account pages before. Basically, this is the same as what I showed in the last video, but now it's completed. We went from having just like a little sketch and a rough idea of what we wanted. We designed the protobuf that structure all of the data. We set up API in the back end. We implemented the front end. We hooked everything together, and bam, check it out. Now we have the dream. So once again, like imagine I want to find some rare flowers. I want them to be soil. Yeah, I want them to be not planted, let's say. And then let's sort them by rarity. So how are they now? We have like one that's 45, one that's 47, one's 55. So it's kind of not a very interesting example. Let's just go with any. Maybe make this a little bit more interesting. Okay. So here we are. We have kind of like a mix of rarities. Here it says 52, 43, 40, 47, all over the place. Right now it's just sorted by the card IDs. But if we switch to rarity sort, boom, what do we have here? 57 is the highest rare that I have. Remembering that I think 60 is the cutoff for rares. And over on the next page here, the lowest rare I have is 40, which is also the cutoff for rares on the low end. But a lot of the time you might actually be interested in sorting by growth speed, for example. And in this case, again, you'll find that things over here have really fast growth speeds, so that's 99, 89, so it's 9 minutes, 17 minutes. And over on the low end here, we already have growth speed 51, so it takes 47 minutes to grow. So all this is working quite well. Yeah, same thing with harvest size. You can switch the sorting order around. You can again choose. You only want water flowers. Okay, there's my Tyrannosaurus blessing, the only rare water that I have. But here, let's clear all this out. Let's look at just flowers that are planted. How convenient is that? All right, great. So I've got 3 pages of planted flowers here in my test world. This is on localhost. There they are. Maybe I want to find planted flowers that are sand. That's maybe all I remember about it. Well, again, here we go. So all that's well and good. The sorting is working phenomenally well. If it can't find something, then it says no flowers found. All this good stuff. Right now I'm just on the /account page, which means like my account, whatever account that I'm on. So I'm going to switch over to my Minter, and you'll notice that this page realizes that a change has been made. It's like a live, page. It reacts to state changes. It immediately loads over here. This is different. Like if I went to this like particular account, just by address, and then because this URL is here, then if I switch to huge long, then it'll stay. So it won't clear it in that case. It's like smart. But then again, if I click on my account, then it'll take it to my personal account, and then we're back to square one. All right, great. So then, of course, the other part of this task was to integrate it directly into the game, the picker user interface, and figuring out which type of land that we need to sort by, and then sorting out also anything that's already planted. So we want to plant a flower that's of the correct land type and not already planted. So that's kind of the goal there. So let's check that out. Let's launch the game. All right, so here we are again. This is the test world. And let's say, I don't know, we have a present over here, right? Till some land. Plant near the present. And just magically like that, we have these filters here. If you notice, I had to retheme them. So the ones on the previous page, they were like chunkier, they were white text. Here I've rethemed them into purple. And again, maybe very conveniently, you can sort by growth speed. And so I know that these legendaries that I have in this account are going to be able to grow the fastest, then followed by some like rares and some unusuals. And actually I have some pretty quick unusuals here as well. So let's pick this common orange, which is an unusual flower. Got our sweet little animation by Duncan Hatch. We've got some more of those coming up soon. Yeah, and so here it is. And, you know, it's a reasonably fast-growing unusual. This is maybe on the higher end for unusuals, because its growth speed is 38, even though its rarity is only 26. I mean, maybe I could have some better ones, but anyway. So, yeah, and then, you know, if you went over to this stone tile, bam, you only get stoned ones. So here, pick a 8th Wonder. It'll grow up in 18 minutes. You can go over here, you know, same idea, plant on ice. It sets the default filter to ice. But, you know, what's kind of cool here is, like, if you decided that you wanted just to kind of explore your inventory, you know, you can actually still manually change these filters. You can think, oh, you know, actually I was thinking of a flower of a different type. Maybe, you know, I'll sort by rarity here. It's like, oh, of course, you know, it was the stone marley I had in mind. Or maybe, you know, you just decide that you want to explore your collection in this way. And these tools allow you to do that. They kind of do the right thing by default, but they also allow you to do more. Of course, as usual, if you pick the wrong type, the game tells you can only be planted on sand, you know, so it's not going to let you do the wrong thing. Yeah, okay, cool. And then, so yeah, same thing with water. Bam, beautiful, beautiful water flowers. Throw in Eden's gift over here. All right, cool. So let's jump in just for a few minutes into like what some of the implementation details were. This was the cool part of the video. The rest of the video, I'm just going to talk about tech. But overall, you know, there wasn't so many things that I needed to do in this phase. Let me go over them real quick. So previously we had been working on this find flower function in the backend API. So this is part of the flower database service. So we have a separate server that's just responsible for being able to tell you stuff about flowers. We created the new API, you know, based on Protobuf, which allows you to create a search and then go in here and check it out. So we use our database and also the game server in order to get the flowers that we have and which ones are planted for that particular account. So we can see here, if we're looking for something other than any planted, meaning planted or not planted, then we use our game client, which is another server. You know, we have this server talk to the game server, figure out which flowers are planted, and then use that to cross-reference. You know, just kind of for a visual here, I have my servers running in another tab. So you can see here, this is Webpack. So this is just compiling the JavaScript and creating, you know, the magic. This is the web server that's hosting the web pages and receiving requests. And then the web server would ask the flower database, which is here on the bottom left, hey, like, you know, give me these particular flowers or whatever. Then the flower service would ask the game server, like, hey, which flowers are planted? And the game server is on the bottom right. And you see it's doing stuff like just decayed the tilled tile that I had done. All right, cool. So it can ask the game server for planted flowers. It can fetch things from our database. We saw some of these things here about how it filters based on the queries that you sent in. Then down here it does the new planted stuff. So it uses our list of planted flowers to cross-reference against, filter out things that are not planted, or vice versa, depending on what your search is. And then finally down here we do some sorting. You know, pretty stock kind of sorting stuff. We have the entire flower stats here in this function. So if you wanted to sort by like age, we can sort by age just by comparing the IDs. So we implement like a less than function, and we check if one ID is less than the other, and that allows Go's automated, built-in sorting systems to just take care of it for us. And then similarly, by rarity, we calculate the rarity for each flower. We say, hey, is this rarity less than the other one? We do the same thing for growth speed as a stat. We do the same thing as for harvest size as a stat. And you'll notice that it's really pretty much trivial for us to add any other options in the future, because everything's based on the protobuf, right? Meaning that as soon as the protobuf changes, all of the drop-down menus are going to have all the new elements in them. We can add one extra if statement here if we wanted to sort by mutability. It would take 5 minutes. And then finally, pretty straightforward. We do the sort order ascending. Normally we just do descending, but if they choose ascending in the UI, then we simply flip the list around. Done. And then we just take that, we put it into another protobuf that's called repeated in 64. Send that back to the client. The client loads it up into the sort of page view, and Bob's your uncle. We got the thing. So that part's pretty straightforward. I mentioned here on the left side we have the card filters component. So this is the React web component that's actually changing the HTML and taking care of its own state. The only thing that I really had to add here was this theme and starting query. So again, because normally you have chunky letters that are white on the account page, and on the card picker you want them to be purple and small, I had to add a theme that changes the color scheme. And then I also had to add a starting query, because you don't just start with a blank slate, you start with a particular search that you're already trying to make as soon as the thing loads. And so then, the only last part that you haven't really seen is this account card picker popover. So that's the popover screen that comes up when you select a flower to put down into the world. The account card picker popover. This thing does something a lot like what we saw in the collection view in the account page. So it adds our card filters to itself. So it already had the pagination for scrolling through flowers in your account, but now we add some card filters. We pass in a starting query, which would be only find flowers of soil that are not planted already. And then when those filters change, when the drop downs in the card filters, when they change, we have a handler function. The function calls our API. The result of the API is stored into the state of this component. Then once the state changes, then we automatically have pagination, which is our component that handles the paged view of multiple flowers. We have that automatically change because it takes a filter list here, this.state.filter list. So we're setting it up here. When it changes, that automatically triggers React to re-render the page, which causes this to get read again. And then as usual, when a card is picked, we have a handler for that. Let's see what it does. No, apparently we don't have a handler for that. It actually does nothing. Oh, no, my mistake. So this actually tells the game which flower you picked, and then the game can display it and do all that good stuff. Send the server a message saying, hey, plant this flower in this location. So this is actually another component, which is why we don't see it here. My mistake. Cool. So that's pretty much it. So you can see kind of how this is. Pick a flower from your collection, then we have the card filters, then we have the pagination, and then we have some messaging in case they don't have any flowers. And once again, we can take a look at how that looks in the game just for reference. It's fun if you resize this while it's doing that. Anyway. So again, we have pick a flower from your collection. There's the code for that. H1, pick a flower from your collection. Then we have the card filters, which are these drop downs. Then finally we have pagination, which is this thing with all the cards. And if it happens that there's no matching criteria, here, let's do this one. Then it again says no flowers, sad face, and then it gives you a link to the flower market. You know, why not? Yeah, pretty straightforward. Clear button. Yeah, great. Right, well, that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a final round of testing, polish, make sure to write a couple, automated tests for this, and then I will launch this feature probably tomorrow, which will be maybe today if you're watching this, sort of Tuesday, March 31st, or shortly thereafter. Yeah, I'm excited to get people using this. Definitely, it'll also be really nice to make it so that you can easily find flowers that you've planted without leaving the game. I think that would be a nice inclusion and overall not too hard to do. I might consider putting that into the patch as well. I've also disabled the snow and tuned down some of the particles there just to make kind of the performance a little bit better. Great. Okay. Well, yeah. So I think probably I will settle into a 3 times a week vlogging schedule. Right now I'm aiming for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday just to kind of span it out a little bit. Please let me know if there's any particular topics you want me to cover, either in regards to Ethereum, how we do smart contracts, how we interact with Ethereum, how we handle the architecture on the back end. I might go into some of these topics just either way because I think they're pretty cutting edge and pretty cool. All right, great. Well, I'll catch you next time. Love you guys. Take care.